Welcome to another day in the Matrix. This is Waters Above. We're officially in eclipse season, and just a couple days ago we had the Bitcoin ETF fake news ritual tied to Blackrock, and after getting so many requests to decode the Bitcoin ETF, I decided to dedicate today's video to exactly that. So in today's video, I'll be sharing a thorough decode on when I expect the actual Bitcoin ETF to launch and how this recent fake news liquidation ritual gave us all the code we need to decipher what's going on. And of course, I'll be following up on the analysis I shared in my last video, which came to life right in front of our eyes, as well as the technical analysis on Ethereum and XRP. So make sure to stay tuned in all the way until the end. You're not going to want to miss a moment of today's video. This one's going to be absolutely packed with value. And before we get into today's video, I just wanted to share a quick update that I have added 16 new videos to my expansion Mastermind course over on watersabove.com, bringing even more value to this course. And I'm excited to say that this course is now 100% complete. I've gone ahead and added a new section to the Heal Thyself chapter, part 2, as well as this new chapter titled Unity of Architects, and I also reveal a surprise announcement for a project I'm launching in 2024, which will be my biggest project yet, and it's dedicated to making 2024 the most successful year of our lives. We're moving into a crypto bull run. Most are not prepared, and even those who are invested in this market, they might be aware of how to generate wealth, but it doesn't mean they actually know how to preserve and protect the wealth they created. So this new project is going to be an absolute game changer, and I'll be sharing more details on that closer to the end of this year. And for anyone who is looking to invest in themselves and get this expansion mastermind course now that it's fully completed, I decided to run an extended sale for this week with the promo code 15OFF-EMM, and you can also find the promo code in the description of this video and in the pinned comment below. I appreciate and grateful for all of your support, family, and I'm looking forward to being a part of your journey and to walk beside you during your expansion. So if you're new here, we do cryptocurrency technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, Numerology, and Astrology to understand these markets. Feel free to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to stay updated on when new videos come out. And make sure to give this video a like and share this channel with other conscious beings to help grow our community. And with that being said, let's take the clear pill. So a quick recap from the last video that I put out here on October 12th, around the 25-minute mark until around the 35-minute mark. Go rewatch that if needed and come back here to this video so you can see how that all unfolded over this past week. In that video, I simplified exactly what I anticipated for Bitcoin based on where we're at now in this cycle in comparison to the past iterations of those cycles, dialing in on the solar cycle for Bitcoin and specifically the second solar eclipse of the solar cycle, which we had over this past weekend on October 14th. So if you go to around the 29-minute mark of this video, I broke it down thoroughly. And I showed how after the second solar eclipse and moving into your lunar eclipse, Bitcoin moves up. And that the days around this second solar eclipse are typically the last solid buying opportunities for Bitcoin. While that's not necessarily the case for altcoins, meaning that there's still a lot of time to accumulate heavily discounted altcoins. So that's positive. I'm well aware that a majority of my audience actually does not hold any Bitcoin. You might just be following along Bitcoin for the analysis to be aware of the energy of this overall market, big pivots, big shifts, etc. And you might be solely an altcoin holder. So don't let this truth discourage you, because there's still a ton of opportunity, especially for XRP, for Ethereum, and many of the speculative altcoins. Of course, here on this channel, we're focused on the ISO 222 coins. Of course, a lot of our content is centered around ETH and XRP, and we get into VeChain, Theta, others as needed, but to keep this very simple focus on the ISO 222 compliant coins. That's where we're headed. Getting back to my last video, I also showed how in the cycle of 2012, when Bitcoin passed through the second solar eclipse, 3 trading days later, we got a big green candle kick in, about a 4 to 5% gain on the daily, followed by an uptrend. And during the second solar eclipse of 2016, 2 trading days later, Bitcoin did the same exact thing, around a 4% gain on the day, followed by an uptrend. Now, here we are in 2023. We're going to be going to these charts, and you could actually see that based on our second solar eclipse in the cycle, which was right here on this day, 2 days later, Bitcoin had this green candle, a 4.95% gain, pretty much mimicking what it's done in the past. Now, this is scary how similar it was, even with this Bitcoin ETF fake news. A lot of people, once we found out it was fake, assumed that Bitcoin would just keel over and go right back down. And most weren't even aware of the cyclicality of all of this. And I showed you in the last video, before this moment even happened, what Bitcoin does, what it's most likely to do, and how this is all running on an algorithm. It's all based in Gematria, Numerology, and Astrology. The news, NEWS, is northeast, west, south. That's the broken compass that is here to distract you and keep you emotional, making emotional decisions. And that's why on this day of October 16th, it was a historic liquidation ritual, not only for shorts, but then again on this sell wall for the longs. This is how the apex predator, the market maker, does what they do every single time to continue to take your money. So we already exposed how this was all going to go down, and we're going to break it down a little bit more, of course, but we want to just show how scary similar this all played out. Now, we do have the 2019 solar eclipse that we gave a little bit of attention to. We were disregarding this big correction that we got here during the C19 crash because that was an isolated ritual specifically for the V, and I shared my thoughts on how the new ritual we've moved into is war, and that's been the theme ever since 2022, and then it pretty much got fired back up again as of this recent event in Israel. That was the Black Swan event, and that is potentially merging the war that we have with the Ukraine-Russia conflict into a whole big new event. And this will be to usher in CBDCs. And we've talked about this many, many times. I also shared in my last video, and I hope you caught this, I said that war is positive for blockchain and for cryptocurrency, specifically for Bitcoin. Now, this is all good news, and I also doubled down on if we are to get any negative essence in this market, it would be more likely to kick in for stocks over crypto just because of the relief rally that we've got in crypto comparatively to the indices. So far, we've seen a rejection and a lower high in all the major indices. We're a little bit green today, but across the board, it's still not looking the same as it does for Bitcoin. It has all decoupled. Gold, silver, as well as the indices compared to crypto, it's all running on its own essence right now. It's not synchronized. I went into this very thoroughly in my last Red Pill podcast over on Patreon, so any of my Patreon supporters can vouch for this. This was a setup that we were anticipating moving into the solar eclipse, and anyone who took action and who was prepared now sees that there's some power behind this code. So getting back to this 2019 solar eclipse, this moment that happened right here, we didn't see it exactly operate the same. We did get about 3 trading days of green before a micro bear trap, and after this micro bear trap, we moved up still. So in all iterations of a second solar eclipse of a solar cycle, Bitcoin moves up. And it's a time span of about 50 to 60 days. So if we were to consider where that stands in comparison to where we are today, that would be somewhere around the beginning of December into December 13th, around the December new moon. So you could write that down. We're anticipating to move up perpetually pretty much until mid-December. Now, a key statement that I made in my last video, which is that Whatever Bitcoin closes at on the day of the solar eclipse, which was October 14th, 2023, we should expect to see Bitcoin close higher than that price on the upcoming lunar eclipse, which is October 28th into the 29th. I explained that during the 29-minute mark of this last video that I put out called Israel War Black Swan Event. So definitely go check that out if you haven't. There is so much value in that video, and we were talking about everything leading up to what we're getting into today. Now, Bitcoin closed this recent solar eclipse at 26,850. You could write that down. We're currently trading at around 28, almost 29K. I went back and I calculated the average gain for Bitcoin during this phase, and it's about 11% moving from the solar to lunar eclipse, which would put Bitcoin at around 30K or slightly below 30K. And in one instance, it was as little as, but it was still a 4% gain from the solar eclipse to the next lunar eclipse, which would put Bitcoin around 28K. It's right where we're at now. Now, due to that Bitcoin ETF fake news the other day, it popped us up right into this exact range that we typically see in all three iterations going back to the genesis of Bitcoin. In just a couple minutes, we watched Bitcoin go straight to 30K, and then it smashed against the sell wall, which was obviously set as that exact level in preparation for all of this. That alone was a liquidation ritual. Just go look up the stats on it. It was historic. So we will go a little bit deeper into the technical analysis for Bitcoin and crypto market in a little, but for now, since it's on our minds, let's decode what just happened with this Blackrock Bitcoin ETF news ritual. And we're going to start simply with the code of Blackrock. So we're getting into some Gematria right now, alphanumerical cipher of taking numbers and letters and seeing their code and how we could tie in those codes to dates and make sense of all of this. Blackrock giving you 76 in basic English ordinal. This cipher is ABC equals 1, 2, 3 up to Z being 26. So Blackrock gives you 76, and the day of this ritual was October 16th. And you can see that on this exact day of October 16th, that was the day leaving 76 days left in the year. Blackrock equals 76. What a coincidence. Now, we heard at the last minutes some things happening on X.com about iShares, ProShares Trust, and that being the ETF, but all of this really kicked off with the assumption of the Blackrock approval. So getting back to this, BlackRock was founded in 1988. This is very key that we consider this. The Shemitah year around that time was 1987, and that was a historic crash that we had, Black Monday. And today is actually the 36th anniversary of Black Monday on this exact day as we film this. That date landed on the 19th of October back in 1987. And why that's crucial is because you can see that the day of the Black Monday flash crash was a 36 date numerology. And here we are today on the 36th anniversary. That's very, very key to consider, everyone. So it's really making me think about how we just had the Yom Kippur War, and this current war in Israel happened exactly 50 years and 1 day after. Perhaps tomorrow, being 1 day after the anniversary tied to this code, we could see some serious market volatility, specifically for the stock market. Especially since tomorrow, being the 20th, it's obviously still during the trading week, but it leaves 72 days in the year, and that codes perfectly back to money being 72, Bitcoin being 72. We've seen some of this code of 72 pop up quite a bit, tied to finance. So just some food for thought about tomorrow. Now, we have Black Monday back in 87. Then a year later, we have Blackrock. The Shemitah is tied to Saturn, the god of harvest, This 87 flash crash was during that time frame of a Shemitah year. One of Saturn's symbols is the black cube. That's the black rock. Another thing about Blackrock by the code is we can see it gives you 25. Now, if you've been following along my work for some months, you know this is crucial because this 25 code ties back into the Chinese zodiac that we're in right now, the year of the rabbit. You have that 25. Now, the CEO of Blackrock is Larry Fink, and you have 25 in the same exact cipher as Blackrock, 25. Think about this. This lizard sits on the board of the Council of Foreign Relations as well as the World Economic Forum. And this is really important because the World Economic Forum is 52 years old in this year during the year of the rabbit equals 52. And anytime you see the 52 or 25, you need to pay attention, especially if you're a crypto investor, because cryptocurrency equals 52 by the code. You shorten that and you have crypto equals 25, the mirror of 52. Then you have the ticker symbol of the largest market cap coin, BTC, giving you 25. It's the ticker symbol of the project that rules the energy of this entire asset class, which we just had this Bitcoin ETF ritual tied to a couple days ago with the company that has a 25 in their code, and the CEO of this company is a 25 by the code. Larry Fink was born in 1952. Interesting. Again, another 52 code showing up in this whole Bitcoin ETF ritual. By the way, 1952 was a Shemitah year. So, of course, being born in the Shemitah year adds this Saturn vibe to his code. His full name, Lawrence Douglas Fink. It's going to give you more Saturnian essence because his name adds up to 73. 73 is your 21st prime number, and 21 is the key number behind Saturn. Remember, 7 plus 7 plus 7 is the jackpot. That adds up to 21. Jackpot is gambling. That's fiat money. That's money created out of thin air. That's mercurial. That is everything that we talk about when we're speaking about trading. Trading and gambling are identical in their nature. Of course, this all funnels back to Saturn. Okay, so why? Because Saturn is father time, and when you gamble, when you trade, when you speculate, you are trying to buy time. You're either trying to make your life change. You see where I'm going with this? So Lawrence Douglas Fink, name adds up to 73, 21st prime number, ties back to Saturn. Remember, Saturn is Satoshi. There are 21 million Bitcoin in supply. That's not by accident. So this company, Blackrock, is a Saturnian essence, 100%. It is undeniable. Now, what is really important about all of this is that this Bitcoin ETF fake news came out 17 days before Larry Fink's 71st birthday. So let me just go back to the 16th of this year, the day that this ritual happened on, and we're going to go to Larry Fink's birthday, which is the 2nd of November. We could confirm that right here. You could see Larry Fink, born on November 2nd. He's currently 70. So I'll say this all again. He's turning 71, and this fake news came out 17 days before his 71st birthday. So he's about to turn 71. The mirror of 71 is 17. You see where this is going? And if your mind isn't blown yet, well, his birthday, November 2nd, is the day that leaves 59 days left in this year, and 59 is the 17th prime number. Absolutely insane connection. And I want you to remember that the number 17 is the 7th prime number. Just like we have a Shemitah year every 7 years. Larry Fink was born during the Shemitah in 1952. Blackrock started after the year of a Shemitah in 1988 after the 1987 crash. It's been 36 years since the Black Monday crash as we filmed today's video, and Larry Fink's birthday, November 2nd, is the 306th day of this year. That becomes 36 in the rules of numerology before reduction. Absolutely mind-blowing how this is all tied together. Now, let's consider that 17 days after Larry Fink's birthday is November 18th. This is where we're going to use time as if it's like a ripple effect. Now, if we include this end date, you can see what this does. From Larry Fink's 71st birthday, 17 days later, lands on the 322nd day of the year. This is the 322 code. That is skull and bones. You've probably heard this many times. They're called Order 322, or the Brotherhood of Death. We're going to break this down a little bit more, but I just want you to be aware that this is all coded back because that 17 is tied to Saturn, all right? November 18th is a Saturn day. 322. All of this is Saturnian. I want you to see how this is Blackrock. Okay, so let's actually go a little bit deeper here. ETF stands for Exchange Traded Fund, and I want you to think about this being the 322 code. Skull and Bones is the 322. Exchange Traded Fund is 322, reverse ordinal. And this Bitcoin ETF news came out 33 days before this date. Okay, so 322 date, we have the 16th of October, and 33 days before the 322 date is the day we had this fake news. So remember, they're called Order 322. Their logo is the skull and crossbones is 223. We're in the 223 year right now. This logo of the skull and crossbones, by the way, is Saturn. Again, displaying their worship of Saturn and creating symbols in the Saturnian aesthetic, with this Saturnian essence at the root of their philosophy and ritual, just like Blackrock. This not-so-secret society is in Yale, and I'm going to show you how that's even coded in. Yale equals 43. The 322nd day of this year is the 43 days left in the year. And guess what day this lands on again? A Saturn's day, making this upcoming Saturday of November 18th a very powerful day by the code for this year, 223 year, 322 day. Now, October 16th, the day of this Bitcoin ETF ritual fake news, was a 69 date numerology, and we know that that is also in Saturn's code. You could see that 69 right there. And we're not going to go into the 96 and 69 today. Watch my last couple videos and you're going to see everything you need to know about that. Again, this date that we identified being 33 days before. But now, since we're all aware that this was all staged to push liquidations and finesse leverage traders, I want to see if we could find a clue to what will this date actually be of the real Bitcoin ETF launching. And we have clues. So I want to explore this number 15 since October 16th, the day of this fake news coming out, has that 15 standard date numerology. This staged event was tied to it. Now let's take 15 days after Larry Fink's birthday that's coming up, and you're going to see where this takes us. So we're going to be landing on Friday, November 17th. This is big, guys, because remember, on November 2nd, Larry Fink will be turning 71 years old. And then we have this November 17th date. You have your 17 in the date. It's also a 17 date numerology. And it is also the 71 double-digit date numerology tied to his 71st birthday. November 17th is just packed with 17 and 71 connections. And because it lands within the trading week, it makes me open-minded that this is a potential date for a Bitcoin ETF to launch, at least within this week. This would effectively be 17 days after the next FOMC meeting, which is pushing through the ritual of Samhain, or what we call Halloween. And if we have one other date to entertain, I believe I've spoken about it before, but I want to bring it up one more time before we get into the TA. That date is November 13th. This is massively important, everyone. This ties perfectly to Satoshi Nakamoto and this exact year we're in. Remember, this mythology called Satoshi Nakamoto is currently 48 years old. You could see that right there with the birthday of April 5th. Please pay attention to what I'm about to get into today because it's incredibly important. This number 322 and 223 that we keep talking about, tied to skull and bones and this year we're in, 2023, well, 223 is the 48th prime number. Remember, Satoshi is 48 years old during this year of 2023. And if you take from Satoshi's last birthday in this year to this date, it gives you 223 days. Again, the 48th prime number. You could see that right there. From the day of him turning 48 years old over to this exact date. And this is the day that leaves 48 days left in the year. You cannot make this up. So November 13th is specifically a very special date tied to this code for Bitcoin. It also happens to be the next new moon. We know leading into new moons that Bitcoin tends to be more bullish. It's a new moon landing on a moon day, Monday. We will still be in sidereal Libra at this time, for those of you that are looking into the astrology of all of this. Until around November 16th, we'll still be in sidereal Libra before transitioning into Scorpio. For the tropical side of the story, we'll already be in Scorpio during these dates as discussed. And remember, in 2021, Bitcoin hit the new all-time high, or the current all-time high that it's at, on November 10th. Then a year later, November 2022, the cycle bottom was perfectly at the last lunar eclipse of the lunar cycle. That was the lunar eclipse at the time of the FTX ritual with Sam Bankman-Fried. We technically did see Bitcoin go slightly lower on November 21st of 2022, but it was within pretty much one exact year later in the month of November, which is crazy because November 21st during this year was during the 47th week of the year, at the time that Satoshi was 47 years old, and we know on Satoshi's 47th birthday, back in April of 2022, that was the last time that Bitcoin traded at $47,000. I've made several videos outlining this and the importance of Satoshi's birthday and how Bitcoin operates during these cycles. It's undeniable at this point. And because this is all during the time frame of tropical Scorpio, it's making me think this could definitely be a part of this code. So we're going to go over to the Gematria calculator. We're going to type in Scorpion, and we're going to get this 46. And the start of the 46th week of this year will be November 13th, the date that we've identified tied to Satoshi's birthday. So a little bit more to this code, because we've identified not only tying in the astrology to all of this, but the Gregorian week number. I mean, we've pulled in every tool to figure this out. I hope you guys can see how comprehensive this strategy is, and you could use this on your own with anything you'd want to decode. Well, let's go back over to Scorpion, and I see this 109, and that's key because it's the 29th prime number. And if we go from November 13th, this date that we identified, to the day that this Bitcoin ETF fake news happened on the 16th of this month, just a couple days ago, you can see that it was 29 days apart. So we have Scorpion equals 109. We'll be in tropical Scorpio during this time right here of the date we identified. It equals 109 being the 29th prime, 29 days after this fake Bitcoin ETF news, and it's perfectly tied to this date, bringing in the astrology tied into the Gematria. Now, to make this a little bit more practical, we know that all rituals come in sequences of 3. So I'm looking at it like this, and I want you guys to consider this, take some notes, and you could just see the method to my madness, what I mean by this. We have the Bitcoin all-time high, November 2021. We have the Bitcoin cycle low, November 2022. Assuming a Bitcoin ETF in November 2023. We also have the date of this Bitcoin average monthly performance, the data, and I just want to pull this up really quickly, could be helpful. Right here, we can see Bitcoin seasonality average monthly performance. The data is sampled from August 2010 all the way over to April 2023. Ton of data from Glassnode. And the month of November is actually the best performing month for Bitcoin. So again, I'll say this all over. We had 2021 November Bitcoin all-time high, 2022 November Bitcoin cycle lows, then November 2023 Bitcoin ETF. We also have the data in the price going back historically 13 years, showing that November is a solid month. So this is the perfect time to go over into the charts and see the setup for this next month and how it could all go down, because we're really in those final moments. And if you paid attention to my last video I put out and you took that gnosis and took action off of it, you're probably feeling pretty damn good right now. So let's get over to what's happening today. Bitcoin looking pretty good. We can see that there was probably a bull flag on the 50-minute chart, something in the lower time frames. We're breaking out today. We can be closing potentially on a new high in the structure. That would definitely be bullish. But before I get into that, I actually want to revisit a couple things. One is gold, and two is just a quick scan of the traditional markets. Anyone who's been following over on my Patreon, any Mastermind community members, you know we made this call on gold. It was one of the most accurate calls I've ever made, as accurate as the XRP to 80 to 90 cents call. That was insane to watch gold come down to 1810. I told my community in a private message, I am accumulating between 1830 to 1810, and right off of the bounce, we have been moving up in a straight line. So anyone who is taking action around that, already we're at 7% returns on gold. So a wild move. This structure being broken is incredible to see. I also, in my last Red Pill podcast, talked about a back test on this key trend line. We got it, and gold just wants to keep moving up. So I talked about why I was positioning myself in gold at about 10% of my overall portfolio, and it's all to do with us moving into the Chinese year of the dragon. We're moving into that year, and esoterically, I feel gold needs to be a part of my investment thesis. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. People think that I was anti-gold. People thought that I hated it and that I would talk crap about it, but all I was saying about gold is I want to wait to get in it at the time that I believe would be most ideal for my investment thesis. And that's exactly what I've been doing. So in preparation for this moment, I'm feeling pretty good about this investment. I'm not too worried about it because I know it's a long-term investment anyways. I don't have crazy upside potential that I'm anticipating. For me, I gave the call of $2,400 gold per ounce in 2024. This has to do with the Hebrew year we're moving, well, the Hebrew year that we're currently in, which adds up to 24, the year of the X. All right. So gold is a big part of my new investment thesis, as well as just increasing my position in XRP. Again, we're moving into the year of the X. So now just a quick scan of the indices. We can see we came up pretty nice into about this October 17th timeframe, a little bit of a rejection. Let's see what the S&P is doing. Same vibe and a lower low in the micro. The NASDAQ also perfectly rejected on this trend line that's been in place since July. It's about 90 trading days, going on about 3 months, onto its fourth month. Lower high, perfectly rejected at this level, and getting back into the golden pocket with a new lower low planted at the end of September. This is showing me it could be playing out a bull flag. So if there is no deeper corrections in the NASDAQ, or if we just keep correcting back down to this trend line, we could have an effective bull flag play out, which would be the setup for more bullish energy and conversation into the 2024 year. And there'd be nothing weird about a continuation of a downtrend following this trend line all the way until February or March, specifically for stocks. For crypto, no, it's another story. Why? Because here on this channel, we're following the cyclicality of Bitcoin by the solar cycle, which we're in. And you cannot disregard data that's been playing out exactly and precisely month after month, going back to the origin of Bitcoin's chart. We're not going to disregard it. If it's not broke, don't fix it. So this is key. We could continue to see downtrend in the traditional markets while we see Bitcoin recover. And if Bitcoin was to act the way that it did back in the 2016 cycle, we could actually see Bitcoin continue to steal so much dominance that it could bode negatively for alts, making it actually better for altcoin investors because it would extend the time that you could get situated in those positions. It's just more buying opportunities. So consider that. 2016, we saw off the second solar eclipse, Bitcoin moved up about 70%, while we saw a lot of altcoins lose 25 to 40%. And that included Ethereum, Monero, XRP, Dash. I made a video about this in a Red Pill podcast over on my Patreon. So Patreon has been packed with value lately more than ever with the amount of stuff that I've been preparing everyone for and how it's all been going down since those podcasts have released. The accuracy has been really wild. So I'm so glad that I found these little nuances, these little esoteric nuances, because it's just making our investment thesis so powerful. I don't even want to take credit for it. I'm just a pattern recognizer. That's all my job is just recognize patterns and see the likelihood of those patterns playing out in the future. That's all. We're just doing it in a whole new way over here. And that's what's so exciting, is to be able to see that we don't need to give our energy to the news or what's going on with Twitter or any of this crap. We could just stick to our investment thesis and we see how it continues to play out without getting distracted by what's going on in the world stage. Getting back to this theory, we're watching Bitcoin's dominance actually continue to the upside. I talked about this in my last video as well, how I anticipate a 54 to even as high as 56 dominance moving into Q1 of 2024. And we're continuing to break out now. We might even get to 53 by the middle of next week or into at least before the start of November. So we could be watching 2016 play out all over again, where we continue to see down for the alts while Bitcoin recovers into 30K, 32K, etc. I would like to now go into the Bitcoin chart really quickly because we've been talking a lot about Bitcoin, but we want to get into the specifics. I told you guys that into the upcoming lunar eclipse, we should be higher trading than we are on the day of the solar eclipse. If we were to have any short-term pullbacks, it would be still holding higher lows. So we do have this 382 here over at about 27,500. That's in consideration. Let's pull up some EMAs, some moving averages, and see what's up. So we do have the EMA band as well as the 9 simple moving average sitting right around that 382 fib. Keep that in mind. Let's look at the weekly and see what's going on over there. And it's the same story. I know this is a little noisy. Let me turn off the drawings and you could get an idea. Right here around 27.5, we have the 21 exponential. We have the 34 coiling up with the 9 right there into 27K. We have that 13 EMA right there at 27.5. And that is your 382 fib on the micro. So just keep that in mind, family. If we were to get a pullback to 27.5, that might be as good as it gets. Seriously. I'm not here to make people feel any specific way. This isn't drama. This isn't emotional. It's just the charts. All right. So a real wolf, a real, investor is looking for these opportunities, but you need to take action when those opportunities arise, and you need to stick to your investment plan. I feel like over the last couple days when we had this Bitcoin ETF thing happen, too many people started to get excited. I don't get excited. When people are getting excited, I'm getting worried. I am trying to get invested when everyone is scared, when it's boring. Buy the blood, buy the boredom, and you'll continue to win. So looking at this weekly chart, if we can close this next week above the 200 simple moving average, that looks amazing. That'd be about 28,300. Right now we're trading at 28.6. And we're moving into tomorrow being the last trading day of the week. We have this weekend. And, with the way things are going and the news and the narratives and this new greed that's being injected into the market, it would not surprise me if Bitcoin hits into this 30K level again, probably in early November, given everything that we've talked about so far. So this is a nice setup that we have going on here. Another green candle, which looks like a continuation candle. We have all of our moving averages sloping to the upside. We have above 50 on the RSI on the daily and bullish posture. And this is all looking pretty good to head up. And based on what Bitcoin has done in the past, that's a 50 to 60 day move up and heading us into the middle of December, where we could definitely be seeing a new yearly high. Bitcoin could be breaking above this 31K during this year and actually getting that Bitcoin CME gap filled. Let's just quickly share that real quick, and that's sitting at about 34.5 into 35K. That would not be weird. Also, one thing to mention before we move into Ethereum and XRP, we saw in the past iterations of Bitcoin in 2012 and 2016, we moved up for 130 to 150 days. That would be like putting us from where we are today moving into the next solar eclipse almost. It would be somewhere around March. So we could be hitting back into 40K Bitcoin by February, March of 2024, all while the stock market is still planting lower highs. Keep that in mind. Okay, so let's go over to Ethereum and see what's going on. ETH is down, actually continuing down. Let me turn off all the noise and just show you what's up and how my thesis about Bitcoin dominance taking over and that hurting the alts, even while Bitcoin is going up, is playing out perfectly. We can see that we've made a new lower low in the cycle on Friday the 13th, heading into the solar eclipse. We're heading into the lunar eclipse. We could actually still see ETH come down to 1,500, all while Bitcoin is holding 28K. It's just the phase we're in right now, family. So think about that. There's still opportunity to go. We have this key support at 1,500. That's a psychological level to keep in mind. Lower highs, lower lows. This is a downtrend that's been in place since the start of the solar cycle. So think the solar cycle started on April 20th of 2023, and ETH has been in a downtrend since, while we've been seeing Bitcoin hold steady. That's important to know. It's the Bitcoin show until the next Bitcoin halving. I'll say it. I've said it 100 times. I'll continue to say it. It's the Bitcoin show. So if you're heavily exposed to alts right now, you're probably feeling it, you know? And that's why we've seen so many isolated rituals and huge corrections in speculative alts, because that's not where big money is focused right now. And with this Bitcoin ETF conversation, all the big money is focused on one thing. Of course, we have this isolated, community of people that are focused on XRP. Again, I am a big XRP holder. It's my second biggest position, but I'm looking at it from a perspective that is quite different than a lot of people in the XRP army. And I'm really looking forward to reconnecting with Bearable Bull soon so we could talk about some of these new updates and some of these things that have gone down. So if anyone wants me to get back together with Bearable Bull, go ahead to his channel, send him a comment on his last video and let him know that we want to make it happen. So we have some downside targets to consider, structural levels, and we have this 382 above us. We've been seeing this has been a perpetual rejection level for the last 2 months. So effectively getting above 1750 for ETH would show me a confident, buy level or a confidence in a breakout incoming. So my buying levels are pretty much where we're at right now, down to 1,500. And then anything above 1,750 would give me confidence that we're probably going to move up and start recovering, or continuing the recovery at least. Now, XRP, very weak on what's gone down with this ETF news. We've gotten rejected, have come right back to the structural support levels. We know we have 47 cents in mind, and we have as low as 41, 42 cents if anything's going to get squirrely. I would love to have a 41 to 42 cent XRP, of course, but I'm starting my accumulations now. Remember, I'm in a much different place than a lot of other people. I was buying in on my short term at 36, and I sold into 83 through 89. That was public. Everyone on my channel that was around at that time saw that go down. I don't mind buying back in at 47 or 48. It doesn't matter to me because of this play was very successful. And where we stand right now, getting anything lower would probably have to be something isolated to altcoins or specifically Ripple as a company. That could drive down that price a little bit deeper. But in the meantime, we know that based on prior cycles, that Bitcoin stealing dominance right now naturally will shave off some of the price for XRP. Bringing us down to the 236 would make the most sense, somewhere around 45, and then we're pretty much splitting hairs between anything lower than that and where we are now, because we're just right there in the middle of it all. Again, have a dollar cost average strategy, make your investment thesis solid yet conservative, and have a long-term vision, because we all know where this thing is headed. So if we're looking at $15 to $20 XRP in the year of 2024, moving into early 2025, then there's no difference between 47 cents and 43 cents. It's just you'd be losing your mind trying to wait for the day that never comes. If you take action today, great. If it goes down a little more, great. If it goes down even more, great. These are all opportunities when you're looking at a double-digit XRP. So I'm going to leave this video off here. I appreciate and love every single one of you. I'm really excited to have had these new videos added to my Expansion Mastermind. If anyone is already an Expansion Mastermind member, you already are getting access to these videos. Just simply log in and you'll see, and any new interest in this course, if you're looking to buy it, you have the promo code below. Much love.